This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on this Monday morning. We kick off another week on a holiday, the Martin Luther King holiday. Hope everybody enjoys that. A lot of great racing across the country this afternoon. There are a couple of Pick Six carryovers to be aware of. Santa Anita, $94,000 Pick Six carryover. Aqueduct, $23,000 Pick Six carryover. So if you're a Pick Six player, plenty of action available for you on this holiday Monday. Coming up on today's show, Mike Penna, Horse Racing Radio Network. He joins us every Monday. We'll take a look back at some of the stakes action from this past weekend. And then a little later on, Eric Donovan from the New York Racing Association, going to get some of his thoughts on their card for this afternoon. Also going to take a look back at that evening attire that was held on Saturday. Long River, nice performance by that one. A little disappointment from Cease, but we'll take certainly a look at Long River and see what Eric thinks of that, again, as well as looking at this afternoon. Big news from the weekend certainly was the Eclipse Awards. The voting was revealed on Saturday night at a ceremony down at Gulfstream Park. We had Jay Privman and Mike Welch, both from the Racing Forum, and both were at the Eclipse Awards on Saturday night. They were with us yesterday on Loose on the Lead. They both said it was a long ceremony, but certainly during the evening there was some lighthearted moments and some emotional moments among the winners. And Privman said, and then wrote about it in the Racing Forum, you can catch it, Todd Pletcher showed a little of his personality, which a lot of folks aren't necessarily aware of. He doesn't give it away too much to reporters or certainly post-race interviews, that kind of thing. But he's got a sense of humor that often doesn't come out. That came out in the acceptance speech he gave on Saturday night. Also got a little bit emotional talking about his family. His mother and father were in the audience. And also got emotional. I guess he tipped his hat at the ceremony also to Cash Electronica, the very nice claim that he and Mike Rapoli made, who had the tragic fatal accident just a few weeks ago in the morning in New York. So sounds like a nice night. Maybe, Welch was saying, I don't know if he said on the air or when we were in a commercial break, there's just not a lot of drama. This year, some years it may be a little bit different, but this year the categories for the most part played out the way you thought. Maybe the 2-year-old category with shared belief was a little bit of a surprise or a little bit unknown. I thought the jockey category could be interesting, although I thought probably the voters would tilt towards Castellano, which they did. And again, there were no surprises. Wisedan voted Horse of the Year, and Wisedan joins some very elite company, being a back-to-back Horse of the Year. He joins the likes of, as back-to-back Horse of the Year winners, Curlin, Cigar, Affirmed, Forgo, and Secretariat. And certainly, Curlin, nice horse, but certainly you get down to horses like Affirmed, Forgo, and Secretariat. Very, very elite and special company. And I also read an article, I have to double-check this, but one of the European racing publications said in their article that Wisedan is the only horse to win 3 Eclipse Awards in 2 back-to-back years like that, or in 2 years total. So again, I'd have to kind of check that, but I wouldn't offhand, I can't say. But I'm just thinking of horses like Forgo maybe. One year he was Sprint, older, and I think Horse of the Year as well. And I don't know whether he could have done that 2 years. But again, according to this publication, Wisedan, the only 3 Eclipse Award winner in 2 separate years. So it not only joined elite company, but made his own elite company on Saturday night. And just going down again, there were no surprises. Ken and Sarah Ramsey, owner and breeder, off the big year they had. Trainer was Todd Pletcher, jockey Javier Castellano, apprentice Victor Carrasco. And again, none of those very shocking. In the horse category is the same. The older female division, it was Royal Delta. She didn't have a great year, but there wasn't really anywhere else to go. The one category that maybe was a little bit controversial, older male, Wisedan gets selected there. We talked a little bit about it on Loose on the Lead yesterday. Leading up to it, there were some pundits going back and forth. Is that more of a dirt category? Should it be a dirt category? And the fact is, there are just no rules out there. And we talked a little bit, as I say, on Loose on the Lead yesterday. Maybe they should define that, because there is an older turf category or a turf male category. And so if you're going to parse it out and say, here, we're going to award turf, then maybe they should recognize, have an older dirt award. Maybe that older male award should be that award. So maybe they just have to define that a little better. I certainly wouldn't argue with that at all. But Wise Dan, again, that was one of his 3 awards. He was turf male, older male, and Horse of the Year. And as noted, there was some controversy on that older male leading into it and even coming out of it a little bit with a turf horse winning older male. We'll see if the Eclipse folks do anything to address that. There are potentially 272 voters for the Eclipse. 249 participated and voted. That's a 91% participation rate. I have no argument with the folks who didn't participate. If you feel like you don't have enough knowledge to vote, I would rather have you sit on the sidelines as opposed to some of the folks who voted. There was a Mike Watchmaker column in the Racing Forum yesterday. Eclipse Award voting, Mucho Macho Man and the Stroob. It's just kind of his weekly, does a recap of some racing news, and part of it was about the Eclipse Awards and looking back at some of the, when you parse out the award voting, some of the horses that got picked in certain categories, and he goes down and he calls out a few of those crazy votes. But the one that I mentioned it yesterday on the show, the one that stood out to me in the older female category, getting a first place vote was a horse called Brandy's Secret. Brandy's Secret, multiple time winner in 2013, but never stepped out of starter allowance company. Hard to make a case for her for the female Horse of the Year, but somebody put her at the top of their list in that category. Watchmaker says, obviously, these are just a few isolated crackpot votes that have little impact on the overall Eclipse Award voting process. Speaking of not only the Brandy Secret vote, but some of the other ones that he mentioned in his article, he said that's not the point. The point is, do the 3 blocks that comprise Eclipse Award voting, Daily Racing Form, National Turf Writers and Broadcasters, and the NTRA, do they want as voters people who exhibit such disrespect for an important process? And again, you have to wonder about that. You look at it, and as Watchmaker says, it doesn't really have any effect on the voting. But you do scratch your head when you look and you see some of these that are just so off the radar that you wonder if they're paying attention or if they're taking it seriously. And so that, as I say, there weren't any surprises, certainly among the winners. But when you look down and parsed out some of the voting, maybe there were some surprises among the horses getting votes. Shared Belief news over the weekend was scheduled for a workout yesterday, Sunday. Did not get that workout. He had sustained that grabbed quarter injury a little earlier this month. That made some news. Hollendorfer said there was a scheduled workout but postponed. Jerry Hollendorfer says, I want to make 100% sure that we can breeze him and there won't be an issue related to that foot. They are shooting for the Robert Lewis out at Santa Anita on February 8th. So we'll have to keep our eyes open. They're now looking to get something into a workout into Shared Belief on Wednesday or Thursday. Let's pay attention to that. I said when this injury was announced a week or so ago, we're far enough away from the Bob Lewis that maybe it's not going to be a problem, and we're early enough in the year that you could even scramble up your plans a little bit with a good horse. But this is kind of the pro tem, certainly one of the pro tem leaders in the clubhouse for the Kentucky Derby, and so it's a notable situation. And again, I've said it before, the Kentucky Derby is a date on the calendar. That's what makes this Triple Crown Trail so interesting, and they have to get to that date. When you get a straw in your path, it can be some trouble. Hopefully, again, we're early enough in the year that they can, A, make it to the race they want to make it to, but if not, there's still some other options out there. But it is notable, Shared Belief. Little ding, now has missed a workout, scheduled to come back and get a work in on Wednesday or Thursday. We'll have to keep our eyes open for that. All right, did want to show a couple of races before we go to our break and watch some of the stakes action with Mike Penna. Got a couple of stakes here that just wanted to show, and don't know these will slip into any other slot during the week. So I wanted to pull up the Sunshine Millions from Gulfstream and the Sunshine Millions Sprint, just to show you a horse that I said it yesterday. This one hit my radar going back to the fall. And this horse was in a race that Ben's Cat was supposed to go into. Ben's Cat opted for another race on the Laurel card that afternoon. But in that Maryland Million sprint, going back to October, Rebo Bobo continued a nice win streak. And again, I kind of picked up on him there. Followed that up going to the Fabulous Strike at Penn National, and winds up running a close-up second to Ben's Cat. Then went down to the Claiming Crown down here at Gulfstream Park, won that pretty easily, and then came back again on Saturday in the Sunshine Million Sprint. We'll watch the stretch run here. It will be the number 3 Rio Bobo, 6-5 favorite in this race. And again, the number 3 wins over the number 1 Happy My Way. But Rio Bobo, Paco Lopez on board, Jason Service trains. And this is a horse that in 2013, 11 starts, 10 wins, and now has started 2014 with a win. So this, as Mike Welch said yesterday, we had him on television, Mucho Macho Man was clearly the story of the day. The Breeders' Cup champion comes back, runs in the Sunshine Millions Classic and wins pretty easily. But Rio Bobo on his own was a pretty interesting story as well. So I just wanted to give you a shot at that as Rio Bobo, again, starts off 2014 as successfully as he ended 2013. So a nice workhorse kind of a sprinter that we'll keep our eyes on this year as well. And wanted to go one race earlier on the card. Look at the Sunshine Millions turf. Just wanted to bring this up because there was a discussion yesterday on Loose on the Lead between my partner Steve Bick and Mike Welch talking about the end of this race, the stretch run between Star Channel and Old Time Hockey. There was some bumping. And first we'll watch the pan shot. They'll come down. Number 5 Star Channel will get up by a head at 8-1 over 4-1 Old Time Hockey. And there's going to be some bumping here in the stretch. There will be an inquiry. There was no decision made. My partner on Loose on the Lead, Steve Bick, thought that, and when we watch the head-on, you'll see it a little better, thought there was enough bumping that maybe the stewards should have taken some action. Mike Welch from the Daily Racing Form disagreed. And again, as we watch the head-on, these two will be on the rail, kind of coming down or on the inside. The outside horse will be the eventual winner, but you'll see the bumping here, and you can kind of decide for yourself as we see the head-on which way they should have gone. Again, my partner Steve Bick thought the stewards maybe should have taken some action. Stewards were not quite as convinced about that. So the Sunshine Millions, eventual result, number 5 Star Channel over number 10 Old Time Hockey was the eventual result there. And I don't know whether we have the head-on for that or not. I'm waiting to hear if we have any head. Do we have a head-on? Should I wait? Here we go. And you see them there. Oh, there's the pan shot, and I think we'll get to the head-on. Here we go. We're backing up, and they're going to be the ones that are kind of out in the lead there, and you'll see the bumping. And as I say, Mike Welch thought it was kind of the inside horse maybe initiated it by coming out, and then the outside horse comes in and bumps, and so Mike Welch thought. The inside horse comes out and bumps, and then the outside horse is just kind of retaliating a little bit. And so maybe the horse that winds up running second started the ruckus, so to speak. And so the stewards made the right decision by not making any moves. So again, just wanted to show you that because we did have a discussion yesterday about that, give you an idea there. For me, and I hadn't seen the head-on as we talked about it yesterday. I went home and took a look at it. And for me, when these come up, these inquiries, I kind of give a percentage. I think it's 70-30 in favor of a DQ. Sometimes it's 100%. There shouldn't be a DQ. There should be a DQ. It was 100% a couple of weeks ago at Tampa, the race we looked at a couple of times a couple of weeks ago where they didn't bring it down. And I thought that to me was 100% they should have. But this one was about a coin flip. This one I could have made an argument pretty much either way. I might have tilted for the DQ, but ever so slightly. And so that they didn't change it, A, is not a shock, and B, doesn't bother me really. Again, I could see Welch's point there also. All right, we will head to our first break of this hour. When we come back, it's our Monday visit from Mike Penna, Horse Racing Radio Network. We're going to take a look at some of the stakes action, including the Lecomte down there at the fairgrounds as we continue along the Triple Crown Trail with some nice some nice 3-year-olds now getting out on the track and making their mark. We'll look at that and a few other races a little later on. Eric Donovan from NYRA. All of that right after this.
I'm Mark Cassano. Join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch. We'll inform, analyze, and welcome in the biggest names in racing. So join me Saturday mornings at 10 for Down the Stretch, right here on the OTB Television Network.
Here in upstate New York, no one provides bettors with more wagering options than Capital OTB. Our network of branch and easy bet locations stretches from the mid-Hudson Valley all the way to the Canadian border and west to central New York. So whether you need to place a bet, fund your Capital Bets account, or watch the next big race, all the action is just around the corner. A full list of our branch and easy bet locations can be found online at capitalotb.com. Capital OTB, the better and most convenient choice for wagering in upstate New York.
Wagering at CapitalOTBBet.com is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Capital Bet TV, the fastest and easiest online wagering experience where you can monitor 5 different tracks simultaneously. 2. Capital Bet Express. Its straightforward program layout and interactive handicapping information lets you build your wager quickly and efficiently. And 3. Capital Bet Pro, designed especially for the professional horse player. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Hey, race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
I'm Anthony Mormino. Join me weekdays at 9 for the Handicappers Report. We'll handicap the top tracks across the country and help you prepare for the day in racing. That's the Handicappers Report, weekdays at 9, only on the OTB TV network.
I'm Brian Nadeau, inviting you to join me Friday, January 24th at the Clubhouse Racebook. I'll be handicapping the day's races live and managing a $500 bankroll for 25 lucky patrons. We'll see you then. Let's win together.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. Seth Merrow in here on this holiday Monday morning. Happy to be joined now by Mike Penna, the Horse Racing Radio Network. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Seth.
We talked a little bit during the break. I know you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, so you don't have any hometown rooting interest, but who's your pick in the Super Bowl?
I think I'm going to go with Denver. I like Peyton Manning. I think he's a class act, so he's pretty easy to cheer for, so I'll go with Denver. I was just happy to see that the Patriots didn't make it in there. They can't hear me in New England, can they?
I'm in exactly the same boat. I have my brother for a while and a nephew, both lived in Colorado, so they're both Denver fans. So my rooting interest in there was Denver, but I'm just as strongly against the Patriots anytime they play. So as a Jets fan, I'm happy to see the Patriots lose whenever that happens. And so now I'll move on and be a Denver fan as well, as you say. You got the classy quarterback there, and then on the flip side, at the end of the game, that clown who came out at the end of the game yesterday in the Seattle game, I'm just as happy to root against him.
Yeah, absolutely. I like a lot of things about Peyton Manning. I think that he represents the sport really, really well, and I'll look forward to seeing him hopefully do his thing here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, it should be fun. Should be a good game. Speaking of fun and a good game is horse racing, and some fun is tied into one of the guests you had on Horse Racing Radio Network this past week. We always like to tell people they can go back and listen to the archives or certainly listen live anytime they want to, Horse Racing Radio Network website. But I went and looked. Last week you had on Peter Rotondo, and I'm assuming you were talking about the new Horse Players series that will be premiering tomorrow night, Esquire TV. And I will note, yesterday on television, I said people in our area could tune into Time Warner Channel 169. I subsequently had a viewer email me, and he said he went out and researched a little bit, and the channel has been changed up. In our local area, it's going to be 114. So that's tomorrow night, Tuesday night, the premiere of the Horse Players reality television show. And give me a little idea what Rotondo had to say. I think it sounds like a fun show.
It does sound like a fun show. And, as I mentioned to him during the interview, so much of what makes reality TV successful is the drama and the controversies created throughout those shows. And I told him, I said, look, when you get several horse players together and you're competing against each other in a tournament for some pretty big money, the drama and the storylines are already there. So you didn't have to really create anything, and I'm sure there was plenty of controversy throughout, judging by some of the characters that are involved with this. But, you know, Pete was very excited. He said that he's played a large role in working with Esquire in the production of this show because, you know, they're not horse people and they don't necessarily understand the game of horse racing, so there was an educational process there as well. But I'm really looking forward to it. I think it'll be a good show. It can't be bad for horse racing. There's no way that this could shed a negative light on the sport, and it should be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree, and I agree with exactly what you said at the top. Reality shows are all about the drama, and the drama here is inherent. So it should be a lot of fun, certainly, to keep our eyes on. That premieres tomorrow night. All right, let's take a look out at some of the stakes action from the past weekend. And Mike, certainly down at Fairgrounds, there was a nice series of stakes races. We'll take a look at the Lecompte in just a moment, but I also wanted to pull up one of the turf races. Certainly they've had their problems down there at Fairgrounds this season, but they did manage to get on the turf on Saturday. The Colonel Bradley was a Grade 3 event, mile and a 16th for $125,000. The horse, and I know you do a handicapping show on Horse Racing Radio Network, and I think you took a look at this race. I'm assuming you folks had to at least have Daddy Knows Best in your mix. The other horse that certainly looked a little bit interesting was the Christophe Clement horse coming in from Florida, speaking of which, and sure enough, Daddy Knows Best goes off as the 9-5 favorite, and at 5-2 in the second choice was speaking of which. We'll watch the stretch run here, Mike, and Daddy Knows Best just gets up as the 9-5 favorite over 8-1 Adios Nardo. Speaking of which, runs third, but Daddy Knows Best now 2 for 2 down at Fairgrounds this season. And it just seems like this turf course every year, some horses just take to it and can kind of run through the turf series. And I think that's Steve Asmussen's game plan to continue on down there this season with Daddy Knows Best.
Yeah, our old friend Daddy Knows Best. He always seems to keep popping up, doesn't he, Seth? Here's a horse that people will remember from running in the 2012 Kentucky Derby. He was highly regarded as a 3-year-old, and now to see him really coming into his own at age 5 is great. And I think you bring up a good point. That turf course at the Fairgrounds is a course that some horses love it, some horses really don't take to it very well at all. And Daddy Knows Best appears to be right at home down there, now 2 for 2 over that turf course with that win in the DeBerto Memorial in his previous effort, now coming back and taking the Grade 3. He's always had the talent, he's always had the ability, and now that they've moved him to the grass, when you look at his last 7 races, they've all been on turf. He's only been beaten twice, and one of those losses came to now 2-time Horse of the Year Wise Dan. So no shame in losing there, and really seems to have found a home at this particular distance and on this particular surface. So, yeah, I think Daddy Knows Best is an interesting horse in the turf division. Now, whether he's going to be good enough to compete in Grade 1 and Grade 2 competition remains to be seen. He's always been a horse that's kind of played at the minor levels of the sport, so to speak, with listed stakes, and now he's put it all together in a Grade 3, so that's a big step for him, and we'll see how he continues to develop. But this was a good win. The margin of victory was only a neck, but he did have some traffic trouble, had to wait just a little bit, and then when he got clear with Rosie, really came running well late. Yeah,
it was a nice stretch run on the outside there, and again, it looks like he'll keep with the turf series down there. Hopefully the weather will turn around and they'll be able to get as many turf races in as possible, but we'll watch him for the remainder of this Fairground season, and if he continues on successfully down there, he could be interesting as a 5-year-old, as you say, in the turf division. 3-year-old division is certainly where we focus a lot of our attention at this time of year, and the Lecompte kicks off their 3-year-old series down at the Fairgrounds. Horse that I've been following since the maiden breaker was Gold Hawk. I found him very interesting. He's going to be the number 4 horse here, the 6-5 favorite. The 6-5 second choice in here was Vickers in Trouble. This one, I thought this horse would be a little bit of a longer price. I was surprised they jumped on this horse off of that win and a big number last time, but it was against State Bred Maiden Special Company. So I didn't think it would float up too far, but I thought it would be a little more. We're watching the stretch run here, and I think the pace play just played into Vickers in Trouble. Out there, kind of dueling for the lead, and then took the lead before the top of the stretch and kind of ran away from them. Albano and Goldhawk are right here as we watch them now, kind of duking it out for second and third. I'm going to give both of them a little bit of a pass and think that the pace may have played against them a little bit on Saturday. And I think, Albano, the Mark Valesky sibling, and Goldhawk, who I think has some nice talent, I'm going to watch at least one more from them. I will say I was shocked that Albano went off at 11-1 and completes a decent $39 exacta in there. But Vickers in trouble. Again, a Louisiana bred stepping back out into open company. Pretty impressive for Mike Maker and Ken and Sarah Ramsey.
Yeah, it really was. This is 2 impressive races in a row for the son of Into Mischief, and really looked good doing it again. The thing, keep in mind, he's still learning the game. When he got clear in the final 16th of a mile, he really drew away from the field, and he got to running like a snake, as they say, and that's a sign of immaturity and just figuring the game out. He's going to get better and better and better, which is a bit of a scary thought because this was a nice effort in his first try around 2 turns. Remains to be seen how strong this field really was. You mentioned Albano. I was shocked that he got off at 11-1 as well. I think that he probably would have been the horse, if I was betting on the race, he would have been the horse I would have played. That looked like a total overlay to me. Goldhawk ran a decent enough race to be third, but really, they were no match for Vickers in trouble. And here's a horse that, again, somewhat interesting. I think at this time of year, we're looking for contenders or pretenders on the road to the Derby. And I think you have to consider Vickers in trouble a contender at this point. Even being a Louisiana bred and breaking his maiden against state breds, he proved that he could handle open competition in graded company with this win in the Lecomte.
Yeah, and as you say, by Into Mischief, that one as a sire, again, making a little bit of noise on the 3-year-old trail as he did last year. And just before we go on to look at the Sunshine Millions Classic, the 3-year-old girls also made a little noise on Saturday as well in the Silver Bullet Day. We don't have the video, but I think both of the top 2 finishers, Unbridled Forever and Divine Beauty, are going to be interesting to watch on that 3-year-old filly trail.
Yeah, I think they're both Oaks quality fillies. We kind of said that in our analysis of the race leading into it on our stakes preview show Friday afternoon. Those 2 appeared to be the 2 logical contenders in the race. I actually like Divine Beauty just a little bit better, but I think you're going to hear more from both of those horses as we make our way down toward the first Friday in May at Churchill Downs.
All right, let's shift over to Florida and Sunshine Millions. There was certainly a nice card down there. And I'll get your thoughts at the top of the show. I didn't know whether I'd get a chance to show it anywhere else during the week. Watch the Sunshine Millions sprint. How about that Rebo Bobo?
Oh, he's just a great horse. How cool is this horse? All he does is win. He's a win machine. He just keeps rolling and rolling and rolling, and it was great to see him strut his stuff and do his thing again on Saturday.
Yeah, no question about it. He's been a lot of fun and starts off another great season in 2014. Let's go a little later on that card, though. Sunshine Millions Classic. Not a lot of drama here, Mike, but I just wanted to show it because it's great when we see a Breeders' Cup Classic winner not only come back to race the next year, but start the season off in January and do it successfully and do it the right way. There wasn't a lot in here, certainly. We had Mike Welch and Jay Privman on with us yesterday, and both of them referred to this as a paid workout. And certainly Mucho Macho Man with a $400,000 purse paid very well for, as we see here, a stretch run that is devastating. The chart says 14 lengths, went off a dime to the dollar. Mucho Macho Man, just impressive in the 2014 debut.
Yeah, you mentioned not a lot of drama. There really wasn't. He was an overwhelming favorite. He figured to win this race by a wide margin, all systems go, and that happened. That there was, take nothing away from Mucho Macho Man because you can only beat the horses that line up against you, but he did it the right way. And you're right, to see a horse like this, who is the Breeders' Cup Classic winner, the horse of the people in 2013 is the Vox Populi Award winner. This is a horse that a lot of people have latched onto, and he's one of the stars, the superstars in our sport right now. And it was good to see him back and doing his thing and getting past this first race successfully. And his 2014 campaign is now underway, and we know what the ultimate goal will be. It'll be a return trip to Santa Anita. If he can keep things rolling for the rest of the season, we'll hope to see him back there to defend his title in the Classic.
Yeah, and Jay Privman thought that on the radar also might be the Big Cap. That may be logical for him. So we may see him out at Santa Anita earlier than we expect.
Yeah, he loves the surface, so why not?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
He's always run extremely well out there, winning the Awesome Again Stakes last year. Of course, he was second in the Classic in 2012. So, yeah, we know he loves that track, so it would be a logical step for him to head back out there.
Yeah, no question about it. All right, let's wind things up. Speaking of Santa Anita, go out there on Saturday to watch the Stroob for 4-year-olds, Grade 2 event, $200,000 purse. And the favorite is going to be Hear the Ghost at 7-5. This will be the number 6 horse. Number 5, Governor Charlie. Similar situation. Both Hear the Ghost and Governor Charlie showed some promise in their 3-year-old campaigns, then had layoffs and comebacks. This was the comeback for Governor Charlie since the Preakness. Hear the Ghost had a couple of starts since a long layoff. So again, number 5, Governor Charlie, number 6, Hear the Ghost, but another horse that had come back from a long layoff. Number 3, Shaking It Up, will get it done for Mike Smith and Bob Baffert at 3-1. Shaking It Up now off of the long layoff, laid off from the Sunland Derby in March till the Malibu December 26th. Now has put the Malibu in the pocket and the Stroob as well. I think this is going to be an interesting sprinter in 2014, Shaking It Up.
Yeah, and he's a horse that had some questions to answer in this race because all of his victories had come sprinting around one turn. The only time he tried to go 2 turns was in the Sunland Derby last year at 1 1/8 and didn't handle it very well. He finished 4th. He was beaten 9 1/4 lengths by Governor Charlie that day, but he turned the tables on that rival and everybody else Saturday afternoon in the Stroob, and he answered the 2-turn question. He proved that he could go the distance and set a really, really nice trip under Mike Smith, who I think is obviously he's a Hall of Famer, but he's so good at putting horses in the right position, and he did that with Shaking It Up, and to see this horse draw off and win by 2 1/4 lengths is good to see because it adds more intrigue to the older horse handicap division out on the West Coast.
Yeah, which is seems a little light, but again, Hear the Ghost it seems like okay. Governor Charlie, he'll come back off a long layoff, also okay. I'll be interested to see where these horses go, and as I say, Shaking It Up, certainly now passing the 2-turn test, it's not going to shock me if they keep on that path. I just wonder if this horse won't wind up back in the sprint division, though, sooner rather than later. But again, with that big cap sitting out there and with a handicap division out in Southern California that is not gangbusters, it won't shock me at all if they also experiment at least a few more races there. But this was certainly very promising. And Mike, before we move along and let you go, just wanted to get your thoughts on the Eclipse Awards from Saturday night. You know, we mentioned Mucho Macho Man coming back and coming back in January. That's very good, being the Breeders' Cup champion. But we also have some Eclipse champions who are coming back, and that's fun. Obviously, the winners in the 3-year-old division will take charge and Beholder. Certainly the winners in the 2-year-old division, Shared Belief and She's a Tiger. But horses like Wise Dan, going to be fun to see him come back. We have one more race at least from Groupie Doll. Pretty much one more race than the breeding shed for her, but we will get to see that one race. So again, it was nothing unexpected really on Saturday night, but we have some winners that we're going to be able to look forward to. Anything stand out to you with the Eclipse Awards?
Yeah, there weren't many surprises. Everything went pretty much according to plan. I was surprised at the margin by Shared Belief and how many votes Shared Belief got for the victory. I actually thought Havana might be a little bit closer in the voting, but Havana, if I'm not mistaken, was 3rd in the voting there. So Shared Belief was a bit of a surprise just because of the margin. But hey, take nothing away from the horse. He was tremendous last year and really deserving of that Eclipse Award. No, everything went pretty much according to plan. And, I said this on the show Saturday morning, Seth, that, this is a time right now in horse racing that it's very exciting to be a horse racing fan. There's so many good storylines. We hear so much of the negative stories that come out in the sport, and that's the only thing that ever seems to get headlines. But when you take a look at horses like Wise Dan and Mucho Macho Man and the connections surrounding those horses, and then to have a horse like Will Take Charge who's going to come back and race again, and all of these great things, and then the human side of things with Dwayne Lucas and Shug McGahee being involved with his horses, and it's a great time to be a horse racing fan. Javier Castellano winning the leading rider title. Here's a guy that's a great ambassador for the sport, one of the nicest guys you're ever going to meet. Buff Bradley, his story with Groupie Doll is so good. A lot of great storylines, and I hope that the sport takes this and runs with it in 2014, and we can capitalize on this momentum and the positivity that is out there now surrounding thoroughbred racing.
Yeah, I agree completely. And one of the ways to keep up with the sport on a weekly basis, Horse Racing Radio Network, plenty of good programming all week long. And again, tell people to visit your website. They can check out the archives or listen to the live programming. Mike, as always, we appreciate the visit, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Seth. Appreciate it.
All right, Mike Penna from the Horse Racing Radio Network. We'll take our next break. When we come back, Eric Donovan from the New York Racing Association. Racing on Mondays now with a nice holiday card today. We'll get some of his thoughts for this afternoon's action. We'll also look back at the evening attire this past Saturday. Stay tuned. All of that up next.
Mondays at 9 for the Handicappers Report. We'll handicap the top tracks across the country and help you prepare for the weekend in racing. That's the Handicappers Report. Weekends at 9, only here on the OTB TV network.
I got it. Watch me. I got it. Hey! I got something that makes me want to shout. I got something that tells me what it's all about. I got a move that tells me what to do. If you don't, brothers and sisters, then you won't know what it's all about.
Hey, race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
Using CapitalOTBBet.com is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Simply log on with your username and password from the homepage. 2. Fund your Capital OTB account through our Easy Money, Green Dot, or Visa MasterCard options. And 3. Place your bet on one of our 3 easy-to-navigate wagering platforms, Capital Bet TV, Capital Bet Express, or Capital Bet Pro. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
This is Steve Beck. Join me Tuesday through Saturday here on OTB TV for At the Races, my Sirius XM daily news magazine of the thoroughbred industry. Handicapping, interviews, analysis, everything you could want. 6 a.m. OTB TV.
I'm Brian Nadeau, inviting you to join me Friday, January 24th at the Clubhouse Racebook. I'll be handicapping the day's races live and managing a $500 bankroll for 25 lucky patrons. We'll see you then. Let's win together.
Welcome back to Racing Across America for this Monday morning, a holiday Monday morning, Martin Luther King Day. Happy to be joined now by Eric Donovan of the New York Racing Association. Good morning, Eric.
Good morning.
Happy to have you on board. And as I say, it is a Monday. It's a holiday, so NYRA might normally be racing on this holiday Monday, but last week kicked off the season-long experiment, the winter season of Monday racing. I've said I think it's a great idea. What do the folks down at NYRA think about including Monday into the schedule?
I think everyone's kind of optimistic about it. Just hoping it works out. I mean, obviously today will be, kind of like a regular day because it's a holiday. We'll see what, we'll see how the numbers pan out by the end of the end of the meet, end of March, and hopefully it'll have been a good move. Likely it'll be kind of equivalent, I would think, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I do the handicapping show on Mondays earlier, and it's just, I think there are slim pickings at this time of year, so I think you guys step in. I think there'll be a lot of focus, and we were talking a little bit, I think some of the other Monday tracks might benefit as well, because I think some folks may, who normally would skip a Monday, will look at Aqueduct and maybe play some other tracks also, so maybe a rising tide will lift all boats, but I think it'll be a good move for NYRA.
Yeah, I think Sam Houston changed their dates around a little bit to run on Mondays now that we're running. They're going to run in the afternoon. So, some tracks, like that, to get a little bit more, on a day where there's not a lot going on now that we're running, there's more people interested in it. So they'll probably pick up some business, probably a good move on their part.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to see what the numbers are, as you say, when we get to March or whatnot. Before we move on and talk some racing, I also wanted to go back to Saturday night in the Eclipse Awards. No surprises there, but certainly in New York there had to be some pride. There was plenty of New York connections winning awards on Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to see, Todd Pletcher and Javier Castellano with such outstanding seasons, and, nice to see them rewarded for their efforts in 2013. Of course, you had plenty of horses that ran in New York, throughout the year, or part of the year at least, Royal Delta, Will Take Charge, Wise Dan, of course, as well, and, just nice to see. Nice to see those horses get their due in the Eclipse.
Absolutely. And one more thing I want to touch on before we move on to the racing. We've talked a little bit about it over the past few days. That new television series, the reality television series Horse Players, will premiere tomorrow night on Esquire TV. Follows horse racing contest players to various venues around the country. Did they film this summer up in Saratoga?
They were up there in Saratoga, yeah. I mean, they've been, I think they did... one down at Belmont too, and then there was they were definitely a crew up there in Saratoga because a friend of mine was in the contest, and I remember going up there and to be, go and say hello to him. They basically, I had to sign like a waiver saying that they could use my, use my pictures, image, or something like that to be in the, to be in the series. So yeah, they were up there, and maybe we'll see some familiar faces on that show.
Excellent, and I've said I think it sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a great idea, and, you got to be pretty creative, I think, telling the stories, and stuff like that. And, I mean, it's not the most exciting thing in the world to show somebody sitting there, looking at a paper, so you got to come up with, you got to come up with some fun ways to do it, and I'm sure the producers have done a good job with that, and looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, we'll get to see. And tomorrow night, I've said to people, don't judge on tomorrow night, because any of these series, I think the opening episode, a lot of time will be just spent developing and introducing the characters. I think it'll pick up probably week 2, week 3 as we get into it. But I think it sounds like a lot of fun, so I'm rooting for it. Let's get back and look at some of the racing. As I say, before we get to this afternoon, I wanted to go back to Saturday. Saturday's feature was the evening attire, $100,000 purse. They're going 1 mile and a 16th. Cease was kind of interesting to me and did wind up to be the betting favorite at 7-5 off of that big win in the last start. Cease disappoints a little bit, getting to the top of the stretch and fading. But I thought Long River, and we're going to watch the stretch run, and it will be number 1 Long River kind of duking it out down the stretch with number 2 Percussion. But Long River for Kieran McLaughlin and Darley, by AP Indy out of Round Pond. There's certainly some breeding here. But this one in the 4-year-old season just maybe winding into some good form. This is the 3rd win in a row, and I thought this was a pretty nice effort.
Yeah, it was a nice effort. It just seems like he's coming into his own, as you said. The pedigree suggests, probably be better as a 4-year-old than he was, as a 3-year-old, and he came into this race in good form. And, from a speed figure standpoint, took a big step forward. He got a 107 buyer for the race, which, to me is a little bit questionable because you have the second horse Percussion only beating 3/4 of a length. And, so Percussion got a 105 there. I find that kind of hard to believe that all of a sudden he, refound his form and ran that great a race. He did run well there, but seems to me to be a bit lofty, but nonetheless, I mean, Long River, hard to knock a horse, who's now won a few in a row for Kieran, and certainly seems to be going in the right direction, and could be a big factor in the big handicap races throughout the year.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch, and again, it's always fun to watch as things progress in the winter down at Aqueduct and some of the nice stakes races when some of these big guys keep some of their horses around, like a Darley and whatnot, so we'll keep our eyes on that one. All right, let's take a look out this afternoon at racing at Aqueduct. 6th race today is an allowance. Non-winners are one other than for fillies and mares, 4-year-olds up, going 1 mile and 70. What are your thoughts on race number 6?
I think the 2 horses down toward the inside can be beaten in here. Lunar Surge and Sally's Dream. I thought they'd be the 2 favorites in here. Lunar Surge got the win at 7-5 last time out, less than a week ago, actually. About 4 days ago, as a matter of fact, beat Dowager. And I don't know. I think coming back this quick, different set of field, different circumstances. I think that he might be a little bit vulnerable. She might be a little bit vulnerable in here. And Sally's Dream, is a neat horse. Randy Persaud's really done an outstanding job with her throughout 2013. Ran 21 times, 5 wins. Has really been in great form toward the end of the year. Turf, and then last start third as well. I just think this race is probably tougher than the ones that she faced last time out. I'm going with Belle Galante, first off the claim for Rudy Rodriguez. His numbers off the claim just too good to ignore. Just looking for a different kind of face in here, and she certainly fits the bill.
Yeah, and again, you can do worse than going first off the claim for Rudy Rodriguez. Michael Dubb, the new owner now. So again, that first off the claim angle, certainly one to attract a little bit of attention. Race number 7 this afternoon, optional claimer, 50 tags, non-winners of 2 other than the condition. These are 4-year-olds and up. They're going to go 1 mile and a 16th.
Yeah, this is a real interesting race, Seth. I mean, I think that the key here is going to be which liver and onion shows up, because on his good day, I think he's better than everyone here, but he's been able to, show up and not run some great races from time to time. He did have a little bit of trouble in the Queens County last time out, and I thought he was way over betting there. He spotted the field, a lot of experience just coming off of one other than win. So him being 8-5 last time out and losing, doesn't really bother me all that much, especially if he stumbled a little bit at the start. He shows up with his better races. I think he's clearly going to win here. He's got that loss to Long River a few starts back, 3 starts back actually, then the win 2 back against Nevada Kid, where him and Nevada Kid just kind of ran off with the race there. So I think he's going to be solid here today. If everything goes well from the start, he's going to be tough to beat.
And Manny Franco on board, who is now starting his career as a journeyman. He's going to be interesting to watch going forward now that he doesn't have the 5-pound allowance.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky time of year for these guys to lose their bugs this time of year, because you have a lot of trainers and horsemen that want to use apprentice jockeys to get the weight off, and to be able to have that happen now is kind of tough, because you're in the prime season for bug riders. But nonetheless, he's really come a long way over the last year or so, and I think he may be able to handle the jump to being a journeyman here, at least until some of the big hitters get back from Florida. But if he builds up the business over the next few months and they come back, he might still have a foothold in some of these barns.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch as he makes the transition. All right, let's go out to the feature race today. It is the Jimmy Winkfield $100,000 purse. These are 3-year-olds going 6 furlongs. And Eric, we're going to watch some video here. I pulled up the stretch run from Hot Air Skier in the last start down at Laurel. Both starts were down in Maryland for Ben Perkins. Career debut, good second-place finish. Followed that up with nice improvement to, as we see, getting the job done here pretty convincingly in the second career start. A nice number out of that one. You've installed this one at 5-2 on the morning line. That day, speaking of apprentices, the talented Trevor McCarthy on board, but picks up one of the Ortiz brothers on the move to New York. No problem there. What are your thoughts in the Jimmy Winkfield?
I think it's a real good race, real competitive. I like Hot Air Skier. I've always been a fan of these new farm horses, and Ben Perkins shipping them up here from Bowie. So we'll see how he does. Certainly looked like he stepped forward in his maiden win last time out, and he's nicely drawn toward the outside here as well with his tactical speed. So I think that'll help him. Also interested in the 2 Pax Orbis a little bit. Tim Tulloch's another guy who ships up here, and he's pretty tough when he ships up here. A lot of Maryland guys come up here and they don't quite fire at the same rate they do down there. They might be 20-25% trainers in Maryland. They come up here, they're 5-10% guys. Tim Tulloch's had some stakes winners in New York, and he does well when he ships up here. So I think this horse moved forward last time out as well, and has some pedigree too. A half-sister, Sensible Lady, won almost $500,000, 9 for 19. So some pedigree there, and some room for improvement too. I'm looking at the two Laurel horses in the Winkfield.
All right, Maryland shippers in the feature today. And Eric, before we let you go, speaking of 3-year-olds, what were your thoughts coming out of the Jerome Noble Moon? And the horse I think is going to be interesting watching going forward. Ran 3rd in the race. Scotland, I think, is one that just maybe sneaky better than that performance that day. But what are your thoughts about the New York 3-year-olds right now?
Yeah, I think I think you hit it on the head. Those are 2 interesting contenders. I think Noble Moon's going to be sidetracked off the trail for a little while, but Scotland I thought ran well in there, and we'll see what we get. Coming up in just a couple of weeks here with the Withers coming up as well. Barati, a nice maiden winner here. Everyone kind of thinks that he might have taken advantage of an inside speed track, which I kind of tend to believe as well. So he's going to be kind of a key to the race in terms of him coming off a flashy effort, a horse that looked like he took a step forward for Kieran. Is going to get betting here, and so if you're right about him taking advantage of a inside speed track, then you got a good favorite to bet against there.
Are you plugged into 1 or 2 3-year-olds nationally?
No, not yet. I'm still kind of just feeling my way around a little bit. I still think it's pretty early. I think once the February preps start to roll around, that's kind of when I to try to pay a little bit more attention, try to come up with a horse or two. But the thing is, Seth, I think a lot of times I do it myself, and it's nice to be interested in it and keep tabs on it, but I don't want to get over attached to one horse too early, because it just seems to put blinders on you. You don't get the sense of the whole field, and you don't really get to grasp everything instead of just digging in on one horse. So I like to kind of not have too many opinions early on, and then formulate them kind of as we go.
Yeah, you make a good point. You don't want to get married too early on, because all kinds of things can go wrong, and horses that are completely floating under the radar can bubble up, and now you're ignoring some live horses, no question about it. All right, Eric, we'll let you go. We certainly appreciate the visit, and again, good luck on Mondays for NYRA through this winter season. I think it's a good move. It's going to be fun for us to keep our eyes on. But thanks for the visit. We'll talk to you again.
Thank you.
Eric Donovan, the morning line odds maker from the New York Racing Association. We'll take our last break. When we come back, a little more news, and also we'll look out. We have the Smarty Jones today down at Oaklawn and the Ocala Breeders' Stakes tomorrow. I'll give you a little preview of that as well. All of that right after this.
Funding your Capital OTB bet account is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Easy Money. Clearly the fastest and easiest method of depositing funds into your account. Make deposits or withdrawals in just minutes. 2. Green Dot Money Pack. Gives you instant access to your funds. Green Dot Money Packs are available at thousands of retailers nationwide. And 3. MasterCard Visa. Simply click on the link from the funding page, enter your account information, and fund your account. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Here in upstate New York, no one provides bettors with more wagering options than Capital OTB. Our network of branch and easy bet locations stretches from the mid-Hudson Valley all the way to the Canadian border and west to central New York. So whether you need to place a bet, fund your Capital Bets account, or watch the next big race, all the action is just around the corner. A full list of our branch and easy bet locations can be found online at CapitalOTB.com. Capital OTB, the better and most convenient choice for wagering in upstate New York.
Each morning on the OTB TV network, you get the very best in horse racing programming. Weekdays begin with the Handicappers Report, where professional handicappers share their selections and analysis of the day's racing. Followed by Racing Across America, a daily conversation with racing personalities from around the country. Saturdays include Down the Stretch, where Mark Cassano speaks with the biggest names in racing. And Sunday mornings, it's Loose on the Lead, where Steve Bick and I offer news and a unique lineup of weekly guests. All here on the OTB TV network.
Wagering at CapitalOTBBet.com is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Capital Bet TV, the fastest and easiest online wagering experience where you can monitor 5 different tracks simultaneously. 2. Capital Bet Express. Its straightforward program layout and interactive handicapping information lets you build your wager quickly and efficiently. And 3. Capital Bet Pro, designed especially for the professional horse player. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Welcome back. Just got a couple minutes left, but just give you a little idea of some of the action. Again, it's a great day of racing here for a Monday because it is the Martin Luther King holiday. If you're so inclined, come on down here to the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany, and enjoy plenty of good action, which will include at Oaklawn Park today. Their 3-year-old trail starts off with $150,000 Smarty Jones, 3-year-olds going a mile. The horse that intrigues me is probably Coastline. And it intrigues me and probably the rest of the betting public. It's a Mark Casse runner. Mark Casse has a string down at Oaklawn at this meet. The horse, last time out, threw in a dud in the Delta Jackpot, but had an excuse there with a bad start. So we'll draw a line through that one. It's also a quirky bull ring kind of a track. You go back to the prior start, a nice win in the street sense at Churchill Downs, finishing in front of Ichiban Warrior and Ride on Curlin, both of whom came back to win in their next start. So I think Coastline going to be interesting. Tanzanite Cat goes out for Cody Autry off a couple of sprint starts, a win last time down at the fairgrounds to break the maiden. Now the first start was on synthetic. The second start was an off the turf. So it makes you kind of wonder moving to the dirt because they were on the dirt last time, but they didn't want to be. So there's maybe some question marks there. But it's Cody Autry and Roberto Arroyo who are doing so well together at this meet. Walt is also interesting to me, coming out of that Springboard Mile, which was so productive last year with Will Take Charge coming out of it. So Walt out of the Springboard Mile, a 4th place finish there is interesting. And why are you so awesome, or why are you awesome? Intrigued me after the first couple of starts in the career and subsequently has done nothing. It's one I just think has the potential to maybe bounce back at a little bit of a price. So interesting edition of the Smarty Jones this afternoon down at Oaklawn. And tomorrow down at Ocala, those annual Ocala Breeders' Stakes races tied into the Ocala Breeders' Sale. It's a card of 5 races. And for the first time, they're offering pari-mutuel wagering, but only on the first 2 races. And I've tried to look around and find out why. It must just be some state regulation or something tied into that. But I've always found it funny that they haven't offered pari-mutuel wagering, because I've never been to the facility, but I understand there's a simulcast facility on the ground, so they accept wagering normally. You think they could tie these races in without much problem. Again, it must be regulatory things. But the first couple of races tomorrow with these Ocala Breeders' Stakes will offer wagering. First race is a quarter horse race. The second race is the Ocala Breeders' Sprint for 3-year-old fillies. The race that is interesting tomorrow, and a little bit of a head scratcher to me, the Ocala Breeders' Stakes Sprint for the boys, which is the third race. And it's a head scratcher to me because in that race, Mighty Brown for Tim Ice, who looked pretty good winning the Pasco last time out down at Tampa at 7 furlongs. The race tomorrow at Ocala is 6 furlongs. I think this horse is going to attract all kinds of attention in here. Prudhoe Bay for Eddie Plisa may get some attention. Can't Stop the Kid comes off a nice win over at Gulfstream. Wesley Ward has Green Mask. So it's a fun little race of only 7 horses. But again, Mighty Brown, it's a $50,000 purse. And coming off of that win in the Pasco, you think Mighty Brown, they would have maybe kept on the trail down there. They got the Sam F. Davis coming up on Saturday down there. You think they may have moved into that, but maybe they think they know the ceiling for their horse, and this fits into it a little bit better. But again, the sprint tomorrow, Mighty Brown's going to be interesting. The Ocala Breeders' Stakes Championship for 3-year-old fillies going a mile and a 16th is the 4th race, and then the 5th race, the championship for the boys, mile and a 16th, $100,000 purse. Canzoni from Todd Pletcher in the 2nd career start could be a little bit interesting. Here's Johnny for Wesley Ward. East Hall also is kind of interesting, and 2nd-time starter Glenn Stahl Abbey, who moves off a big turf win against maiden claimers for Christophe Clement. But again, I just think that horse could be a little bit interesting. And you have jocks shipping over there. Castellano is going to be in town. Joe Bravo, Kent DeSormo. So it should be a fun day tomorrow down at Ocala Breeders' Stakes Day down there. All right, before we go, just do want to remind you, speaking of the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany, some of the events coming up here and just Capital OTB in general. Do keep in mind, there was the January amateur boxing program for the month of January was set to go tonight. That has been moved to next Tuesday, Tuesday the 28th. So if you're an amateur boxing fan, the programs have been a lot of fun over the past few months. This month, the January edition is now next Tuesday, January 28th. Also coming up, there's an online Showviver contest on the 25th. There's a live syndicate bankroll on the 26th online. The happy hour coming up with Brian Nadeau will be held down here on the 24th. That's this coming Friday. Brian Nadeau with a $500 happy hour bankroll. Certainly head on down for that. He had a great day just maybe a month or so ago for 25 lucky patrons. You can be one of those if you come on down here on the 24th. Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue in Albany. That'll wrap things up for this holiday edition of Racing Across America. Again, great racing all afternoon from across the country because it is the Martin Luther King holiday. So enjoy the racing and cash a few tickets. Racing Across America in every Monday through Friday from 10 until 11 a.m. We'll see you again tomorrow morning.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.